Ebusa for high GC news. Mema Ubibia Akwaba Hadia latest hot nkwa era me bremo. Enuti so nya subscribe to channel idea bomodia say obe subscribe. Gabby ad say obe click the subscribe button, you know. Na wabele notification no. We sa video for be upload no. When the first person what's ebeka sa video. Afi we are na like video no, give us a thumbs up na fi share my or for so that when you be here now and some do na ra ekoso ewo Ghana memoano afi tentemo imbura ye semwa abeto yepuno so mumayiti sa report ya ababetu mumayiti asemi.
You cannot say that anybody can wake up any day, put out any information, and if we don't have a polarized partisan system, we are supposed to investigate that. When the person
I didn't say that,
does not adduce any basis or evidence to substantiate that claim,
I didn't say that,
or to even necessitate an investigation.
Sammy,
what you are doing is that you are defending the indefensible.
Sammy, you know that.
You are justifying something which
Sammy,
is totally wrong.
Sammy, you know that.
Something.
No, hold on.
At least you have given every panel member.
Hold on. I get that. But listen to my question.
You can give me 2-3 minutes before your questions come. It will help. Because you cannot ask me a question or truncate me after every sentence.
I'm not truncating you here.
You don't have a lot of things to say. They said a lot of things.
I'll let you say that. So, you know that acts of corruption, drug deals,
yes,
they happen in the underworld.
Yes.
It's difficult to prove them.
Yes.
So sometimes, or most often, it is suspicion that is triggered for the investigation to happen.
My brother, it is not suspicion that is triggered for investigations to happen. And we are not talking about suspicions here. Let's not overly dwell on the word suspicion. I read a direct quote from their press conference to you. They alleged that they had credible intelligence.
But the press release is right before you. You are reading from somewhere else.
Being a nuisance. Your constituents are watching you. You are disgracing yourself.
I take exception to that derogatory.
It is not your time to speak.
I take exception to that derogatory. I can imagine
you are irreverent. Allow me to speak. Yes, stop this.
The cocaine and the money laundering. Who are you covering?
Look, I can
imagine your discomfort is better than you.
Can you
stop being a nuisance?
Okay.
I can imagine your discomfort.
You stated categorically that you have intelligence.
I will not accept it.
Now you are here. If you are a law-abiding citizen, you care about Ghana. You love Ghana.
You said more terrible things when you were in opposition.
True, the allegations
now we are calling you to investigate.
The allegations you made. At least you would have shared that intelligence with the people of Ghana. And you see, the impudence. He has the temerity to dictate to government who should speak for government. He says that the official spokesperson of government cannot speak to this matter.
Because he lied.
Who then should speak on this matter? What has Felix said, which you have proven to be a lie here? He's giving you the numbers of all the aircrafts, the dates they arrived. He told you that they had landing permits. He told you what they were carrying. He told you the number of days they had to stay at the Kotoka International Airport. He gave you the reason. But where did you get this guy?
Check the money.
What is the meaning of this?
Check that thing out.
I have never seen anybody be this disruptive on news. Okay. What is the meaning of this? Look, so he has given you all the details, and he has demonstrated to you that these aircrafts were here for legitimate reasons. They went through thorough security inspection by aviation security, by national security, by the national, by the narcotics, NACOC. All these state security institutions inspected these aircrafts, and nothing untoward has been done. He has told you where they went from here. He has given you the numbers. You can track the aircrafts. What again do you want to hear before you know that this man is lying? Because he has not given you any evidence at all. And he says that state security agencies should investigate suspicions. And Kofi Bentel is supporting him. Hey. His suspicions that he is not able to substantiate. This can only happen in Ghana. In other jurisdictions, this guy would have been blacklisted.
Look,
when we were in opposition and we were criticizing the dense national organizations, we always adduce evidence to substantiate our allegations. And that is why we were never... Look, the only time I was arrested on the allegation that I had published false information, the matter didn't travel beyond 2 hours. I was picked from the premises of UTV on grounds that I had published false information. I went to the CID, they asked me, I provided the evidence. Matter ended. You are here. You made spurious claims. You are talking about intelligence in your possession, in your knowledge, to the effect that certain aircraft were smuggling illicit.
Allow the security.
You don't have any evidence. He is here, and you are entertaining him. You have no conscience. You have no shame. You are an embarrassment to your party. You are an embarrassment to your constituency. And it is only in the country like ours that you will be entertained. And I want to say this. If this guy does not honor the invitation of national security to do that,
call them to come and arrest me right here.
I'm saying that if he doesn't honor the invitation,
I dare you to call them to come and arrest me right here.
And he thinks that he can hide behind his parliamentary privileges. He like bad because he will be arrested.
Drug dealers.
Some of us will insist that he's arrested, and you must substantiate that.
Drug dealers and arrest innocent MPs. That protocol must be followed.
Follow it. That's all. And we will get to him. We will follow it. It's just a matter of time.
But here.
Every day for thief man, one day for master. Your cup is full. Your time has come. Your cup that you hold one press conference.
Your cup is full.
Pedal cup of cocaine and the mind of the Your cup, look at you. And my greatest disappointment. Look at the way your cup of money laundering.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out where to start with. And it seems to me that it is important to emphasize the point that there's nothing, absolutely nothing, which legally or legitimately invalidates the results of the last elections. No matter what conjecture we come up with, the fact is that President John Dramani Mahama was legally and legitimately elected President of the Republic of Ghana. The fact is that he won with a margin which is unprecedented in the Fourth Republic. So this excuse of our members did not turn up, one region, that is on, is all completely irrelevant. The mandate of the people has been clearly, legitimately, and legally established. No questions about that. That's number one. Now, number two. It's just to emphasize the point that members of parliament have responsibilities which far outweigh the responsibility of ordinary citizens like me. By virtue of the fact that they serve as our representatives, they cannot pretend to be acting as individuals who can go out on a limb. And that whatever they do must be seen to be in the collective interest of the people they represent. That's a responsibility that members of parliament must carry. Otherwise, they lose the value of representation. So members of parliament cannot get up and do things on a whim and so on. At every time when they act, they must act in the interest of the collective. And this is a very important point to make. Now, thirdly, I'd like to point out to my brother and very dear friend, Sabu, that it seems to me that he doesn't know what is being discussed. And it's clear. At no time has there been a suggestion that these planes crash landed in Ghana or that they landed as emergency flights. No time. Indeed, the evidence now available in the public is that they sought permission to land, prior permission to land. So there was no emergency. You understand? Now, having listened to my brother very closely and so on, his whole submission is premised on the fact that these planes landed in an emergency situation.
It's based on what for this.
He didn't say that. Please.
That's why I kept saying technical.
Please read it for him.
Yes.
Read the statement for him. He actually went to the extent of quoting the references of the permission, prior permission granted to the aircrafts. So there was no emergency situation. Okay. Now, it is also important to point out that these aircraft did not land here for repairs. They didn't land here for repairs. And they did not originate, the flight did not originate from Spain. One of the flights actually originated from Rwanda. Is it Rwanda?
Rwanda.
Yes. Rwanda. From Luanda in Angola. And the reason why the flight came here was to meet a certification requirement. The EU has a rule which says that if planes must land in the European Union countries, they need to be certified. Now, in Angola, they do not have the capacity for that certification. And that is why the aircraft flew to Accra in order to obtain the certification which enables it to land in the EU country. So let's get the facts clear. Okay. Now, the other thing which is important for me is that having watched the video which was released by the presidency through Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, you could see from the video that all the standard requirements were met. All the standard requirements were met. In fact, it seems to me watching the video that inspection is even filmed. That filming that was released to the public could not have been done as an afterthought because by that time the planes had left. So it is reasonable to assume that it is part of the standard procedure. And indeed these days, if you travel abroad, you see that at the security checkpoints, if you want to check for narcotics and so on, there's a small swipe. They used to touch your bag and so on. And if there's any narcotic in it, it will show. I saw them use it on the aircrafts and the materials in the aircrafts. And I'm sure you all saw them. You understand? These aircrafts were so vigorously inspected. So vigorously inspected on camera. So all this needless speculation, I'm wondering where it's coming from. You have the facts and you say, no, I'm going to speculate. What's wrong with you, my brother? When the facts are not available, you can speculate. But when the facts are there, staring in your face, you don't speculate. You analyze the facts. And so far, I don't see any analysis of facts, but empty speculation, just intended to cast doubt. You understand? Oh yeah, Ntim Fordjour could be right because 20 years ago, an ambulance was caught somewhere in Sogakope carrying marijuana. What? Is that the level of analysis? So in that case, every ambulance you see anywhere in the world or anywhere in the country must be carrying drugs. What kind of assumption is that? Clearly, my goodness, what kind of assumption is that? I don't know where it's coming from. To be quite honest with you, I don't know where it is coming from. Now, you see, I listened to Ntim Fordjour. I've listened to him, I've read him over the period. And to be honest, I really pity him. Okay. Because at this press conference, he told us that he was speaking on behalf of the minority in parliament. He was acting in the press conference, according to his own claims, as a spokesperson of the minority in parliament. Then sometime later, that same person now is not speaking for the minority again, but is speaking for a committee of parliament. So he doesn't even know who he's speaking for. Is he speaking for the minority or is speaking for a committee of parliament? You cannot interchange the two positions. You are either speaking for a committee in parliament, which includes all the political parties represented in parliament, or you are speaking for the minority in parliament, which is the minority. Finish. You can't conflict the two. So he must be clear in his mind whether he's speaking as a minority spokesperson or he's speaking for parliament. Now that lack of clarity itself raises many important questions. Now we do know that his claim that he was speaking for a parliamentary committee is at least doubtful. Okay? Because the chairperson of the committee has said he did not speak for us. He did not have our mandate. Raising substantial doubts about that claim. Now, there's something else which is important. If you listen closely to his press conference, it was very confusing. At a certain point, he was saying that, look, this is the information that we have had, and that we would like the matter to be investigated. That's one breath. At another point, he actually emphatically makes the claim that Ghana has become a hub for money laundering and drug trafficking. Yes, suddenly become a hub. How do you reconcile these two positions? Is it a case that he has heard rumors, unverified rumors, that he wants the state security agencies to investigate? Or that now he has evidence to show that within this short period of 3 to 4 months, Ghana has become a hub for money laundering and drug trafficking? There needs to be some reconciliation, because it doesn't make sense. That there's a gap which needs to be filled. And then, Senna, there is something which is called logical acrobatics. Okay? This morning, this man, Honorable Ntim Fordjour, on his X page, is claiming that international agencies appear to vindicate his stand and so on. What is the evidence? And Senna, if anybody is in doubt, please read it for them to understand. I mean, when they are in doubt, I don't think they are in doubt yet. When they get into doubt, read it for them. There's a Ghanaian working for an international agency, and he says that the allegations made by him Ntim Fordjour are serious allegations which require or need to be investigated in order to establish the fact. How is this a vindication? Tell me how this is a vindication. How is this a vindication? And this is used as a vindication. It says international agencies are confirming what I've said. I mean, what is this? What is this acrobatics? What is this gymnastics? What is it intended to achieve? You see, it doesn't end there. If you listen to public commentary on the matter, you get the impression that President John Dramani Mahama has ordered the arrest of Ntim Fordjour because of what he has said. No such order has been given. Read President Mahama's tweet very carefully. He says, look, these are serious allegations. We are concerned about these serious allegations. We want to establish the full facts so that we can deal with the matter on an empirical basis. And therefore, I'm asking the security agencies to collaborate. The essential word is collaborate with Ntim Fordjour in order to establish the facts. So indeed, he's not in the category of an arrested person. He's a collaborator. He's part of the investigators. You understand what I'm saying? He is not to be arrested to prove. He says, come and help us, work with us to unravel the facts. He's not being arrested. I hope you get the difference. He says, collaborate. So he's on the same pedestal as the security services in the effort to establish the facts. Okay? The man who in his first press conference is calling for investigations to establish the facts now turns around and says there's no need for investigations. You raise his feet. He says there's no need for investigations. But he called for the investigations in the first place. So what is this rigmarole? I don't understand it. Why these twists and turns and so on? And you see, my brother, look, I want to believe that every Ghanaian engaged in public commentary, public discussion, is doing so out of a need to contribute to developing a better understanding of our circumstances. Every, including my brother Sabo, including Ntim Fordjour, and so on. And I want to hold this belief until I am proven wrong. You understand? Because if you don't do that, ab initio will interfere with people's rights to express themselves and so on. So the first point of call is that every Ghanaian has a right of free expression. And every Ghanaian who is speaking about everything is exercising that right until that right is abused. That is the way I want to look at things. In this particular case, it seems to me that the right of free expression is being so blatantly abused in order to serve partisan political interests. Partisan political interest which stands in conflict with national interest. And I am very deeply worried about that. Look, all of us, especially members of parliament, must know that there are consequences for countries when they are classified as narco countries, as countries engaged in drug trafficking and money laundering. There are severe sanctions and so on. So if you go out there without a shred of evidence to go and make such allegations, what we are actually trying to do is that we are calling for the imposition of sanctions on the country. That's what we are doing. We are saying that our struggle as a people to sanitize the national economy and so on should be further jeopardized by the imposition of sanctions. Mind you, as we speak here, mind you, cocoa, supposed to be the main driver of the Ghanaian economy, is in deep, deep crisis. And sometimes when I sit back, I am amazed, at the courage of somebody like Dr. Randy Abbey. He must be a very courageous person.
I said that yesterday.
No, Randy must have some courage.
Yes.
I mean, to decide at this stage to go and carry the burden of cocoa board, you need a lot of courage to do that. First of all, production has declined by about 60%. Okay? Not just that. This is the second year in which we cannot even borrow money to buy cocoa from the farmers. This is the industry in which local buying companies have collapsed. Licensed buying companies now are predominantly foreign owned and so on. This is the crisis that Randy has gone and put on his head, or they have put on Randy's head.
Oh, yes.
53 billion is how much is owed by cocoa board and so on. Now, in the midst of this Herculean problem, and this is not all, I mean, I've always repeated this figure of us needing 120% of total national revenue in order to be able to finance 3 line items: debt servicing, debt repayment, and public sector emoluments. So in the face of this humongous crisis that has been bequeathed to us as a people, and especially to the Mahama administration, it is a height of recklessness for anybody to peddle rumor which may lead to the exacerbation of the national problem, especially when that is done in anticipation of the fact that it will erode public confidence in the governing party and lead to a victory for the defeated party. It becomes the height of recklessness, absolute recklessness. That is what it becomes. And I'm very deeply worried by this situation. Now, in front of me is this newspaper, the publisher. Okay? And the headline says, Kwaku Forson lied. No agency has invited me, Ntim Fordjour. This is the lie he's complaining about. Agency has invited you, agency has not invited you. What is the damage that, suppose that if we agree that Kwaku lied, he lied, yes, he lied. This lie, what damage does it do to Ghana? Compared to the lie that in a very short period, suddenly, all of a sudden, whatever, Ghana has become a narco state. Which of them is damaging? I mean, look, let's stop this. Let's stop this. I was going to use a certain word, but I have advised myself. Because 3 weeks ago, I used the same word and it was completely misunderstood. But look, we are coming to the point where things must be called their right names. If something is reckless, we must say that it is reckless. If something is foolish, we have to be able to say that it is foolish. If something makes no sense at all, we have to be able to say that, look, it doesn't make sense. And so we have come to the point where our nation is in crisis. And one of the ways of getting out of this crisis is to be candid with ourselves. Of course, let's show ourselves respect. Let's respect each other and so on. But respecting each other does not mean that we should be burying things under the carpet and we should refuse to be candid with ourselves. You see, my brother, and on the line of being candid with ourselves and so on, let me say something very, I want to say something, my brother, I want to say something very seriously. Look, the Mahamadu administration has been in office for more than 3 months. Listen to me carefully. It has been in office for more than 3 months.
Actually, the third month will be Monday.
Just entered the third month.
Yeah.
7th January.
It will be 3 months on Monday.
7th April, that will be 3 months.
What is today's date?
Today is what? Today is 5th. 5th, we are not even 7th.
Oh, okay.
7th will be 3 months.
I like to be all right.
You are counting the days. Well, it's
So it's in the third month. So it's in the third month, but not
So
more
the
than 3
Mahamadu
months.
administration is
3 months.
it's
3 months.
third.
Yeah, that's correct.
That is no excuse for keeping anybody in office who has fallen out of line. If you fall out of line the first day, the second day, you must show the exit. This government has a huge opportunity to reset the country. And you can't reset the country with some of the ministers I'm seeing today. My brother, I'm serious. You can't reset this country with some of the ministers I'm seeing today. This government came to power partly as a result to mass opposition to reckless public spending, especially with regards to the National Theatre, the National Cathedral. Listen to me very carefully. So if you appointed a minister who in less than 3 months, I thought it was more than 3 months, but in less than 3 months, looks us in the face and said that we are going to rebuild the national, we are going to build the National Cathedral, and that those who oppose it will face them. Face who? We are going to face those who elected you into power.
Who said that?
I'm surprised that you don't know.
Can't do it.
That minister must be shown the exit now. He's not fit to be in office. You see, and if the government is able to take such measures, then the viciousness and malicious propaganda of the opposition would not be able to stand. But when government is not able to take a firm stand on these issues and discipline its people and so on, then it provides ground for malicious propaganda and so on. Master, I finished.
Mr. Pratt?
Well, look, what is happening is simply a vindication of the Public Utility Workers Union, which has argued that there's no need, absolutely no need for the privatization of ECG. If all of these holes were sealed, what would be the need for the privatization of ECG? So, I am now more than convinced that the Public Utility Workers Union and the Trades Union Congress of Ghana have a strong point in opposing privatization. And as ABA Fuseni says, what we need to do is to ensure that these enterprises, are properly managed by competent people. That's all. And we can get things done. We need to be reminded of our history. And the history of privatization in this country has been such a disaster, unmitigated disaster. You privatize 400 state enterprises and only 2 of them survive. What does that tell you? 400 state enterprises are privatized and only 2 of them survive. This ECG, we privatized the revenue collection, department of the ECG. I mean, gave it to the electricity company of France. It was a total unmitigated disaster. We tried to privatize water supply, gave it to Aqua Vital Rands of South Africa. It was an unmitigated disaster. What convinces us that privatization will work this time? It won't work. And look, over the last 8 years, you look at PDS. You look at what has happened with these containers and so on. And it's clear that this is an entity which can survive on its own. I don't want to go back so many years. I mean, when I used to work at the Ghanaian Times, you know, as a reporter, I had a very interesting story. You know, our transformers got blown. Electricity transformers got blown. And there was a local company here in Ghana which could rewound the transformers. The managers of the electricity company of Ghana decided that they would not give it to the local company here. They would send it to Nigeria. And they sent the transformers to a church in Nigeria, the Olumba Church in Nigeria, to rewound the transformers. I mean, can you believe it? The transformers went, I think we paid them in pound sterling. The Olumba Church, we paid them in pound sterling. The transformers were not rewound. The transformers never came back.
It never came back.
You know, and then when you are faced with such problems, you think that your quick answer is privatization. It is not. It is not. You understand? So I believe very firmly that this is a serious vindication of the Public Utility Workers Union and of the Trades Union Congress, and we should as quickly as possible abandon this reckless path to privatization.
Well, that leaves me
to tell you our mentality as Ghanaians. The thing did not start today, so we are not criticizing the MPP government. It's our own mentality. You have a company in Ghana that could do that work. Managers then at ECG decided that
because of their
they wouldn't give, because of their selfish. I mean, I always say it is the predatory nature of the way we look at public office. That when we get into public office, we are looking to satisfy our self-interest. They decided that the company in connection here could not do it. They should send it to a church. And I was Deputy Minister of Energy, and I've been to India. And then you go and see the places where they build transformers. This where's the name? Where we used to do the tell me, industrial area.
Yes.
All the small shops, you only need levers to move them up because you can't be pulling them. But all other things we can do in Ghana here, but we are not doing. We can build the transformers. But no, go and buy them there. India, China. It's the problem. And we want to be self-sufficient and self-reliant. If we are going to set the country, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama must build a self-reliant company, ECG, self-reliant people, to take our destiny into our own hands.
Wait, I don't know whether it is fair to ask for brief comments on the Trump tariffs and the impact on Africa.
Well, that's very brief.
Very brief. And I like okay.
So you see, for Trump, what he's doing is that he's bringing into being a new world order. That new world order will be dictated by the United States of America. But that new world order is disruptive in nature. In fact, and there are checks and balances. What China has done, I appreciate that China is trying to rebalance what Trump is doing. And Trump has said, "Oh, China, you have misunderstood and you have acted in haste." That should tell you that they are now applying brakes on him. You can't just unilaterally bring into being a new world order, irrespective of the WTO rules. Even though we have difficulties with the WTO rules, but you can't just disregard them and do what you want. And that is what we are experiencing.
Mr. Pratt, what was that?
Well, I mean, clearly, the empire is collapsing. Clearly, the empire is collapsing. This is what happened, throughout history. If you read history, when huge empires are about to collapse, this is how they do collapse. And I think that the United States, as the bastion of neoliberal capitalism, is collapsing, completely collapsing. I mean, yesterday I was really amazed when I saw what was happening between the United States and Canada. Interesting.
Yeah.
Indeed, yesterday, Canada imposed, I think, 25% tariffs on electricity exports to the US. And actually warned that if the US does not de-escalate and continues to escalate, they are going to cut off power supply to cities like New York, New Jersey, Minnesota, and other places. And that's how bad it's becoming. And there's no way that Donald Trump is going to win this war. I mean, look, the American people are going to suffer increased prices. I mean, this Canadian move was going to cost the American people in those cities, I think about $400,000 or $1 million per day. Per day. That's the cost that the U.S. consumers of electricity were going to bear. The U.S. is not in a position to dictate to the world. First of all, over a period of the last 30 years or so, manufacturing has been exported to other countries, mainly China and others. It's been exported. Nothing is produced in the United States, not much. I mean, Michigan and so on, which used to be the hub of production, have become rusty and so on. U.S. infrastructure is in decline. Their roads need to be redone. Their bridges are in very bad condition. And so rail network is very bad. I mean, if you compare the railway system in the U.S. to that in China,
they have no bullet train. They don't have bullet train.
Master, it's like comparing daylight, and night and so on. So the U.S. is not in a position to dictate to anybody. Donald Trump has started working for a new world order in which the United States of America will see its true size. They have a deficit of more than $3 trillion. That's the state of the U.S. economy. And they are throwing their weight about as if they are giants. The U.S. is not a giant.
Yeah. They say a man who fire will burn, he will first catch cold. Then you go near the fire and you will get a burn. I'm sure you never sow maize and reap guinea corn. Whatever you sow is what you reap. In the last election in the US, it was fought on key issues, the most fundamental of which was inflation and cost of living. And Donald Trump was seen as a better manager of the economy who would bring inflation down and others. But they say if you say that the blackberry has a lot of oil, let's wait for the day you pour out the oil. Today, the tariffs, economists are unanimous on the fact that one clear thing the tariffs will do is to increase the cost of goods and services. And by extension, the cost of living and inflation will go up. So rather than coming down, as they hope that the new Trump administration will do, my brother, but Americans are very interesting people. I am not a fan of Donald Trump, but what I can see is that he's playing to the sentiments of the American people, to let America look inward. So today you have an inward looking America that is playing fundamentally to what they call American interests. And if you look at MAGA, which that's Make America Great Again, Donald Trump's Trojan horse. Yeah. If you look at it, it's dictated to making sure that America first, everything that is in the interest of America supersedes any other global interest or aspiration. So the tariffs are just to make sure that, and it's calculated, if you look at it, just yes, on a very arbitrary factor of, if I have a deficit with you, let me calculate the margin of the deficit and slap the rest as tariff. So you see a poor country like Lesotho. Lesotho is just exporting textiles and some other dishes. They have slapped poor Lesotho with 50% tariffs. I heard the Lesotho foreign minister saying that they are trying to send a delegation to go and beg this. But for me, these things are, and that is that for me is a wake-up call for us in Africa. This is a what do you call it? A great opportunity for the African continent to revisit the legendary Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's monolithic African Union that he preached in the 60s. That the answer, the panacea to Africa's economic woes lies in a continental union government of Africa, where Africa can function as a monolithic unit and harness and garner its resources for the benefit of the African people. So this is an excellent opportunity that Africa, we must not lose. Trade between African countries is greater than trade with the United States, between Africa and the United States. So I will not blame Trump. Trump is saying that he is acting in the interest of America. He was elected to protect the interests of America, and that is why he thinks he must do. Why are our African leaders elected by the African people not interested in protecting African interests? So if Trump says America first, we must also say Africa first. Sheikh Guvar said it after one of their battles in the Sierra Maestra, when the communists were routed in one of the battles. He told them that let's not agonize, let's organize. So Africa must organize. Let's not reduce ourselves to continuous lamentations that you cannot do anything in the face of this thing. I think that the African free continental area that we have said must work. All the sub-regional groupings that the people must not be concerned with wanting to be president or other thing in a small enclave like Ghana or Togo or Cote d'Ivoire or Nigeria. These are small balkanized entities. In today's global integration, we cannot survive. So if Trump is doing America first, African leaders must also do Africa first. Like the EU is trying to do. EU is now also rising up to try and protect EU interests. So we may spend the whole time, we can condemn Trump from morning to evening. It will change our status until we do something about ourselves. Like the Holy Quran tells us that Allah Almighty does not transform the situation of a people until they get up themselves and do something about it. So it is up to us as Africans to take advantage of this situation and do something about our resources. Because I end on this note that we are tired of the situation where the paradox continues to exist, that Africa is the richest continent, but it parades the poorest of the poor on this earth. I think that contradiction must be resolved, and this is an opportunity to get at it.
Thank you.
Yo, Jafo Winnie and someone about beto. So because so we can subscribe to channel idea, but more than say over subscribe. Now, while like video, give us a thumbs up. Now, share my work for so now when you be here now and somewhere also, Ghana memoir. Also, bit me actually wondering if I and some way in our comment box in my next video.
Thanks for watching. Like and share the video. You can also drop your comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to turn on the notification.